Somewhere on Earth invites you to the far north, to the Kingdom of Norway, an immense territory that extends well beyond the Arctic Circle. Norway has 80,000 kilometers of coast. It's the most irregular coastline in the world and the longest in Europe. Terje Isungset is not your ordinary artist. This composer draws his inspiration from the elements of nature. He's blazing new trails in music and doing the impossible. He makes ice music. Aleksander Lyngberg is an extreme adventurer, and Lapland is an ideal terrain for him to live out his passions. He makes his living from the sea, and the wind carries his dreams. Now he's getting ready to tackle the world's toughest snowkite competition. Heidi Sevestre is a glaciologist. This young French woman lives year-round in the Svalbard Islands, just a few hundred kilometers from the North Pole. Here in these northern lands, she has found an untamed expanse that can satisfy her thirst for freedom.
As soon as you set foot here, you feel right at home. And it's really a little bubble of peace and quiet. The longer you stay here in Svalbard, the harder it is to leave.
The Arctic acts like a magnet for those in quest of the absolute. The Dutch explorer Willem Barents discovered Spitsbergen in 1596 while leading an expedition to find a northwest passage to Asia. Blocked by ice, his crew had to spend the winter here and even dismantled a part of the ship in order to survive. Barents himself did not survive. This sea north of Norway now bears his name. It was not until 1838 that the first full-fledged scientific expedition took place. La Recherche, a French corvette, sailed from the port of Le Havre in France up the coast of Norway, then headed for Spitsbergen. The expedition would last for 2 years, during which 80 crew members and 17 scientists, eager for new discoveries, bravely explored these northern regions. Up until then, the rare visitors to Spitsbergen were mainly whalers and trappers. Those days are long gone, but this is still a land of adventure. Heidi is 26. She has been living on Spitsbergen in the Svalbard Islands for 5 years.
This here is quite a rifle. It's a Mauser from the Second World War. It really stands up well to the cold. More recent lighter rifles tend to seize up when the cold sets in, but there's no problem with this one. At 5 kilos, it's heavy, but you can count on it. I have to do target practice because there's a danger of polar bears. They're all over the Svalbard Islands. Well, there's room for improvement. The polar bear is the largest predator in the islands and is not at all afraid of man. It'll come right up to a group of people without any fear at all. You have to be prepared for unexpected reactions from a polar bear. Some are curious and a little wary, but a large male could charge us just like that.
The Svalbard Islands are situated 840 kilometers north of Norway and 1,300 kilometers from the North Pole. In these inhospitable lands, where the polar night lasts 6 months and temperatures can drop to -50, scientists from all over the world have found a winter wonderland for their research. Longyearbyen, Spitsbergen's one and only town, is the world's northernmost community. It was founded by the early coal miners who braved the Arctic in hope of a better life. Heidi is a teacher and researcher at UNIS, the University of Svalbard.
Here in the Svalbards, you just grab a map and say, where should we go tomorrow? We're right out in the field. No excuse not to go. You just walk 200 meters and you're in the great outdoors.
In her field of research, glaciology, Heidi needs to master the dangers of ice and crevices. She and her students regularly practice the gestures that would save a life if one of them were to fall while out doing field work.
I was attracted to these islands because they have so much to offer. The mountains, the cold, nature right in your face. It makes you feel small compared to nature. I grew up in the French Alps, so I spent my childhood in the mountains, hopping from one peak to another. It's the same here. But here, nature rules your everyday life.
Heidi has found her place and her equilibrium on these unbounded expanses here at the ends of the earth, where every day is a challenge.
There's no distinction between my work and my passion. My work is my passion. It's my life. When I realized that I could make glaciology my profession, I went for it.
Okay, perfect.
In Spitsbergen, the slightest hitch can have enormous consequences, so you have to be prepared for anything. That's why we have so much equipment. We need it to protect ourselves from the polar bears and from avalanches and for rescues. We also need it to determine our position. So a GPS, a satellite phone, and an emergency beacon, which is a simple button you push if you're in trouble that sends a signal to the authorities so they can come and rescue us. It's a lot of gear, but it's all necessary when you're taking students out into the field.
Yeah, fuel card GPS, yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, guys, so the plan for today is to do a bit of radar. So we're going to try to do GPR, it is called. It means ground penetrating radar. The scooter will pull the radar. And it looks like a very long antenna, which is approximately...
The Svalbards are an ideal laboratory for glaciology.
We will drive maximum...
For 2/3 of its surface is covered with glaciers.
So it's very important to...
The university courses are given right on site.
Speed constant. And we'll be able to measure how thick the glacier is. And also it will tell us what is the temperature of the ice. So it will be related to how fast a glacier can move to know the temperature of the ice. So it always...
We study glaciers because they help us understand the climate. The Arctic is warming twice as fast as the rest of the world. Glaciology not only gives us information about what's happened in the past, it also helps us predict the future.
Prédire comment le climat va évoluer. Perfect. Make sure it doesn't fall too hard on the bag here.
Analyzing the glacier's movements is a way to forecast a much more widespread phenomenon, the rising level of the seas on a global scale.
We're off in our own world, our own bubble. Some people think we're doing this because we enjoy it, because we're scientists and we love doing this. But our work has a much larger dimension. Our data will be useful to many populations living on the world's seacoasts. It's a strong motivation.
Vraiment, nous motive tout particulièrement. Hey Alex. C'est l'amour, hein? Elle est blonde. Blondie. Ces chiens sont en copropriété.
This is our common dog pool.
4 propriétaires.
There are 3 owners. 2 of the dogs are Alex's and the rest belong to 2 of my friends.
Le reste des chiens. Et aujourd'hui, on va aller faire une petite balade.
Let's take these guys out for a run.
Awakening among evolution, bring the light to pure and prime presence. The smallest to the greatest, the invisible delight around this possible version of things away. Flow in motion drags everything on.
I think that's the way she runs, like.
We're just riding on the sled, but these dogs have a sixth sense that keeps us safe. There could be a polar bear or another danger, the ice pack that's too thin or cracked, a glacier that has crevices, for example. The dogs that could sense all that.
Landscapes replaces pictures from the best to new growing elements, the oldest from the youngest, the replacement. Be proud about this magical union everywhere.
The pioneering spirit still lingers in the Svalbards. A whiff of adventure still haunts the ice.
It really gives me a thrill to go right there where no one else goes. I think that fear is basically a fear of the unknown, but for me it's a great motivation. Back then, I would have been the first to hop on a ship headed for the Svalbards, for sure.
The warm Gulf Stream keeps the entire Norwegian coastline free of ice. the fishermen can take to sea all year round, even during the Arctic winter. Aleksander Lyngberg is a child of the far north. This former naval officer, who has sailed all the oceans of the globe, has come back to live in his native land, Finnmark. He's a fisherman in the Barents Sea. He's specialized in giant red king crabs.
Pots have been here for 1 week now. So now we're going to check them and see what it is. There is some catch. Yeah, once we get a really big one. It was over 8 kilos, one crab. It's exciting, you know. What do we catch today? Nothing. There's not so much food in them, but we'll check out the next one and see if there is some catch. After education, I started working in ships. I went to the US, worked there for a year in Africa and the North Sea, and gets a bit boring. So I went back to the start and started fishing again, and be in this beautiful environment. Better catch. It came originally from Alaska, and in the 60s the Russians put this out here for food for the soldiers. So it has been coming to Norway, and it's going further west every year. It's a nice one. This is about 3 kilos, and it can get about up to 10. When they lose one leg, they will grow up a new one. So it's a weird animal.
The Russians tried several times to introduce crabs to the Arctic Ocean. They failed each time. So they created a new breed, a cross between two very resistant species. Now, the giant red king crab is the largest in the world. It can live 30 years and measure up to 1.50 meters tip to tip. The seafaring tradition in Norway dates back to the time of the Vikings, 1,200 years ago. Those great navigators were among the first to construct boats sturdy enough to venture away from the coasts and sail the open seas. In the extreme north of Europe, beyond the Arctic Circle, lies a vast territory, Lapland. It spreads across parts of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia. This is the land of the Sami, nomadic herders. They were the first to set foot on these endless expanses. That was 10,000 years ago. When Aleksander is not out at sea, he spends his time snowkiting. More than a sport, it's an ideal way to cross Lapland's vast frozen stretches.
What I like about living in this environment is the freedom and being together in the nature, the elements around you, and be a part of it. Yeah, that's what I'm living for. A living of the nature. I'm fishing for living and kiting for fun.
Snowkiting gives one incredible freedom of movement. You can slide across the plateaus at 80 kilometers an hour, cross frozen seas, climb the slopes. Equipped with a sledge hooked onto his waist, the kiter is totally self-sufficient and can travel for long periods of time, covering hundreds of kilometers. Skiing has existed for more than 4,000 years in the north of Europe. It mainly allowed the Arctic populations to break out of their isolation, to hunt, to tend their herds, and even to go to war. Later, skiing was a key factor in the conquest of the poles.
I love being alone in this big area, this big playground. Yeah, it's a pleasure. You don't think about any worries in the world. It's only you and the kite. Rein get reset. This is the best place on earth for those who like to be outside in the wilderness. Especially if you like snowkiting. There is nowhere on earth you can do this like here.
Aleksander is in training for the Veco race, the toughest snowkite competition in the world, which will take place here in a few days. He and Alf Ole are teammates. They've been training and preparing for 6 months, for the race is a veritable expedition. 300 kilometers through a hostile environment.
We have to get to the high plateau and travel along up there until we get to this valley. The highest point of the valley is right here, and the checkpoint's here.
At Vadsø. That's the finish line.
Yeah. You might get lost if the GPS is not working. Well, you got the wind direction. It's always a good thing. You know the direction. You know then where to go. When you are from this area, you're used to it, and you don't see the same way as other people.
The big question mark of the race is the weather. A snowstorm doesn't necessarily mean a good wind. And if there's no wind, the sail can't pull the skier and his sledge. There have been times when not a single team finished the race on account of the lack of wind. So they have to be prepared to continue on foot as far as possible. To take part in the race, it's not enough to know how to handle the sail. You need a lot of experience with long expeditions and bivouacs in extreme conditions. For when night falls, the temperature can plunge to -30. During the long Arctic night, the sky offers a dazzling show. The Sami used to believe that the northern lights were caused by the passage of the cosmic firefox. As he ran across the snow-covered landscape, his tail would graze the snow and throw up sparks. The Sami beliefs have gradually disappeared, but certain traditions remain. There are an estimated 70,000 Sami living in Lapland. Aleksander is paying a visit to two old friends, Sveinung and Lars. They're reindeer herders.
Usually, I don't see anyone out here. But once in a while, some people do pass by. We've set the tent up just because we have a herd of reindeer nearby. This is our base camp.
In this area, I would say most of the people have Sami blood. When you come closer to the coast, it's more mixed with Norwegian, and they do have Sami blood. But we come from a more traditional fishing. The most traditional thing is to do reindeer, but there are some who come more from the coast who are into fishing. So that's where I come from. But in old times it was a bit tricky.
For a long time, the Sami were victims of discrimination. They weren't allowed to speak their own language or practice their rituals. They weren't allowed to sing the yoik, which was the main means of transmitting their knowledge and lore. Lars is a guardian of the traditions. He knows the secrets of the yoik.
I'm going to do a yoik about a wolf. The wolf wanders all over the tundra. He's hungry. He's looking for something to eat. All of a sudden, he hears a reindeer. And then he attacks. That's the end of the story. He catches the reindeer, and that's the end of the yoik.
Those hard times are now past for the Sami. Lapland is now officially recognized by the 4 countries it spans. This territory corresponds, in fact, to the range of the reindeer's migrations. The reindeer spend the winter high on the plateaus, where the ground snow swept by the wind is thinner. The reindeer are not penned up, they're semi-wild. It's been a difficult season for the herders. Aleksander has come to lend a hand.
We need to feed them this winter due to the warm winter. The warm winter made it icy on the snow, so the reindeer don't get through the snow. So we need to give them some extra food. It's important for them to survive this winter, and also to when they give birth.
The successive periods of mild weather followed by cold snaps cause layers of thick ice to build up on the ground. The reindeer can't break through to reach the lichen they usually feed on. They're scattering the hay over the high plateau to disperse the reindeer and avoid conflicts. There are a few hundred reindeer in this herd. As soon as the spring comes, Lars and Sveinung will take down their yurt and follow the reindeer to the rich green pastures on the coastlands, 80 kilometers away.
I really enjoy this work. I could have done a number of other things, but I wouldn't have lasted very long. Here I keep at it. Even if I'm tired, it doesn't matter. Alexander is used to the mountain. He sees right away what needs to be done. He's used to working outdoors in bad weather. He adapts very quickly to the work in the mountain.
Well, the conditions are just about the same as at the sea, you know.
It's even worse at sea, because out at sea you can't make the slightest error.
No, you can't.
Aleksander is doing the final preparations for the race. Given the extreme conditions, forgetting the slightest thing could have disastrous consequences. The rules stipulate that each team be equipped to survive on their own for 5 days. On the Varinger Peninsula in the northernmost part of the country, the plateau rises abruptly to 600 meters above sea level. The tundra remains blanketed in snow until the month of May. The world's top kiters are gathering in this protected zone. The selection procedure for the race is very tough. This is the first time that Aleksander and Alf Ole have qualified.
I feel a little bit stressed and excited, very excited. I can feel it in my stomach. A lot of good kiters around here, so we want to try to get a good start here.
I'm nervous. It's going to be tough, I think. A lot of kites in the air and a lot of lines. 80 kites with 25-meter lines, that's a lot of lines around. The adventure is the goal. We don't give up. We just go.
That's not an option.
I think it's gonna be okay. We are gonna make it good.
40 teams, off and running into the unknown, swept along by the wind of adventure and the desire to break free. Only 24 will make it to the finish line after several days of battling the cold and fatigue, which costs them a staggering effort. Aleksander may feel perfectly at home on this vast territory and know it like the back of his hand. He doesn't manage to make it to the finish line. He does, however, achieve his goal, which was to surpass himself, confront the elements, and become one with nature.
Yeah, this is a good place to go exploring because you can live here a lifetime and have a new place every day, which you haven't been before. It's so huge, you can't go everywhere. Then you have to have a really long life.
Norway means the way to the north. In winter, the Arctic temperatures pose a real challenge to life. The cold is so extreme, it obliterates the horizon. But it doesn't faze the stalwart souls here. For some, it's even a source of inspiration. Terje Isungset is one of those for whom nature is both muse and work of poetry.
Musically, I find nature very, very inspiring. Like when we came to this place, the first thing I hear is the beautiful sound of this river. The mixture of half-frozen river, you know, of ice and not ice. The sound is amazing. When I work on compositions, I might include sounds from water, from birds, from fishes, whales. For me as a musician, it's very important to express something. It will not be a concrete expression that people might understand, but it's for sure, for me, it's very important.
We're almost there, guys.
Will we be able to climb onto the glacier?
Yes, but we won't need to climb on top to get inside the glacier.
Okay, let's get a look at this ice.
Terje and his team have come to the Jostedalsbreen Glacier in the south of Norway. Here, on one of the 50 arms of Europe's largest glacier, he's planning to carry out an imaginative new project, creating and recording his music right inside a glacier.
This is a dream. Can you take a chunk? Do you have room in your backpack? Nice sound, huh?
I think it's amazing to see this glacier ice. It's fantastic. The color is beautiful. If it has sound or not, I cannot tell you yet. We need to make pieces and check them. But it looks like it's a little bit too much air and not so compact, kind of. But if we manage to find a cave or something underneath the glacier, it probably will be better ice. Oh. It's first time ever I'm in an ice cave. And first of all, I think it's incredibly beautiful. The light is very unique. I've never seen blue color like this before. And also there are some instruments here, ready-made. Kind of. It's amazing, isn't it?
Terje came up with the idea of using ice in his musical creations in 1999, when he was composing for a concert at the foot of a frozen waterfall. Ever since, he's been working tirelessly to perfect his art. His instruments, all made of ice, are inventions that spring straight from his imagination, like the isophone. Bernard Svidal is Terje's assistant. His help is precious because before each performance, the instruments have to be made from scratch.
It's beautiful. It's a piece of art, made by nature.
That's good. But this one should be a little higher. Like this.
Each setup for a concert or a recording session is a long, delicate process.
I want to tune it. And then I take off.
Here we have more sound, so we leave it as it is.
What happened was that when I heard the sound and saw the beauty of ice, I kind of fell in love with it immediately and just had to continue the work simply. It's not like if you have a Stradivarius violin, you know exactly how it sounds. With the ice, when I make a new instrument, I don't even know what sound it is. So, and let the instrument or the sound show me where to go musically.
Terje is from Geilo, a village in the center of Norway. He spends most of his time on tour. He gives 150 concerts a year all over the world. He travels everywhere with his ice, by car and even by plane.
For me, life has been simple in the way that I think I always knew I would deal with music. I couldn't see any choice or any other options. So I started to play on garbage around 5-6 years old. But when I was 8, I got my first drum kit. But I have no musical education except for performing and kind of searching myself.
During the winter, Bernard has the job of harvesting enough ice for a year's worth of performances. The ice is fragile. It's a very difficult operation. He has to work barehanded on a frozen lake at a temperature of -15.
The quality of the ice will make a good quality ice music instrument. You can use artificial ice for sculptures and structures, but you cannot make the artificial ice and make instruments out of it. No tunes will come out of it.
That's maybe 90% of the work, to find the good ice. I was in Russia. We had 100 pieces of ice from the same lake, and only 7 of them had sound. The best sounding ice I've ever had in my life is the ice from 2003, from north of Sweden. I say it's like good wine, you know, this is a really good year. You can go to the same lake that had the best ice in 2003, and this year maybe no sound.
The more complex instruments are produced in Terje's workshop. The material is as fragile as it is precious. Each performance is unique, as are these ephemeral instruments. Terje is a trailblazer. With the heart of the glaciers, he composes a new horizon. His creations give voice to the wondrous, enchanting sounds of the realm of ice.
So it's been really hard work, I must say, but I think it's worth every second of it. I think most of the music kind of have showed up. It's not music that I have heard, that I tried to copy. or things like this. So it feels more like a part of me, or I am a part of the music.
The Shetland Islands are lost in the north of Europe between Norway and Scotland. They are hammered by the sea and buffeted by the wind. These walls of rock form the ramparts of a rugged land. Though the archipelago counts a good 100 islands, only 16 are inhabited. These Celtic lands are an oceanic symphony composed of luminous waves and dark mountains. Here, on the same latitude as southern Greenland, is where the North Sea and the Atlantic meet. In the Shetland Islands, the wind mixes with the land, the sky, and the sea. The Vikings burst into the pages of history when they landed on these rocky shores at the beginning of the 9th century. Sailing from nearby Scandinavia on their legendary longships, the Vikings made a quick sweeping invasion of the islands of northern Europe. They seized the Shetlands in 802. In a few years, after a welter of blood and tears, the Scandinavian warriors subdued the entire territory of northern Scotland. These first Viking incursions into Christian lands marked the beginning of a long and devastating conquest of Europe. It would continue for almost 3 centuries. Far away from the world, 40 kilometers from the archipelago's main island, Fair Isle emerges from the sea, suspended out of time. Sheep raiser, farmer, parish clerk, fireman. Neil Thompson wears many hats, like most people living on Fair Isle.
I grew up playing on these pieces of land and around these cliffs and that, so I always think of this place as being my home. But I mean, yeah, very much. You grow up, you become part of the place, it becomes part of you. Yeah, it's lovely.
Wind presently 130 degrees at 22 knots. There's quite a strong crosswind, about 22 knots. But it's marginal, but it's safe limits, so yeah, it's good pilot too. Today, 5 high school children are coming home for the weekend. The plane is also carrying some essential supplies that we've been waiting for 10 days.
Back in the days when Fair Isle could be left only by boat, the men had to emigrate from the island to escape poverty and to feed their families. Today, the airplane allows the islanders to live as other Shetlanders do, or almost.
Here, because there are so few people, everybody does 2 or 3 things. So when you put it all together, then all the community is able to operate. You have to love everybody. You have to love everybody. And generally speaking, we do. People that come here and don't love everybody, they tend to stay after a year or 2. They tend to move away because it's difficult for them. Yeah, you know.
For a long time, the island was called Fridarey, the Island of Peace in Old Norse. Today, Fair Isle means simply the Island of Fairness. Buffeted by storms, the Shetland Islands remain unchanging, frozen in time. Despite their isolation here on their oceanic territory, the Shetlanders cultivate their own homegrown brand of happiness. The fog in the summer, the depressions in winter, evoke a world at the end of time, or perhaps the beginning of time. They say that these islands of northern Europe are situated at the edge of the world. It's an isolated region that makes people get along together and share their only riches, freedom and unspoiled nature. Neil has come out to lend a hand on a job that's a tricky one, but vital for all. One of Fair Isle's 2 wind generators has been struck by lightning. It has to be put back in place again as quickly as possible, before winter. The job is proving more difficult than expected. The wind is getting up, and the atmosphere has become quite tense.
You do not walk below anything, you've been told, right?
80% of Fair Isle's energy comes from wind power. The islanders don't expect any help from the outside. They have to do the job themselves. Without a crane, it could take several days. The weather is not with them today, but they still have to try to raise the wind generator. The inhabitants of Fair Isle are counting on them. But the icy wind gets stronger, and the repair job has to be put off.
Hello, it's a fine day city again. Who is due to stay wind and rain? step I must. I'm come to make this train. I shall go against time and tide. The Kansas will me with our life and on.
Tonight, Neil is meeting up with his father, Stuart, the most senior resident of Fair Isle, and with his niece, Lisa. This is a family of music lovers.
It's very deep, and it's very meaningful, and it's very broad, and it catches everybody, and you know, long may it continue. Well, there's some that can't die out. You try holding your breath, see how long you can hold. That's the same with music. You try not listen to music. You'll start humming a tune in spite of yourself. You know, there's music everywhere.
"22,000 people live on the Shetland Islands. Fair Island is the most isolated of the group. In winter, the storms cut the island off from the rest of Scotland. Life is possible only thanks to strong solidarity among the islanders, and also thanks to the presence of a guardian angel. All the Shetlanders know his name, Oscar Charlie. The Coast Guard helicopter monitors the marine traffic in this vast zone where the Atlantic Ocean meets the North Sea. It also responds to medical emergencies. Kieran Murray is the Shetland Coast Guard's memory. He has rescued more than 6,000 people. Hundreds of men and women owe their lives to him. At 61, Kieran is the senior team member of Oscar Charlie. He's been flying the skies over Shetland for 30 years. His role on board is crucial. He is the winch operator and is in charge of directing the rescue operations. As winch operator, Kieran is the vital link between the winchman at the end of the cable and the helicopter pilot. Kieran is the man who guides the pilot to position the aircraft. Every mission Oscar Charlie performs is choreographed like a ballet. Here, everybody knows Oscar Charlie. The members of the rescue team are heroes for all the children of Shetland. That's why Kieran's son is on the team today. For Kieran Murray, the family tradition will be carried on. His son, Kieran Jr., is the Coast Guard's youngest pilot.
I wanted to become a helicopter pilot from a very early age, from about the age of 5. That's about the time when we moved here to Shetland, within about 4 miles of the airport. So we used to see helicopters flying over the house on a regular basis, and it was that influence that made me want to fly. So it was a childhood dream, really, to find myself in one of these, and eventually that dream came true.
I'm a bit bigger now.
Yeah. And then there's your gliding days. I think that was down at, is that down Leonsolon?
Leonsolon, yeah. I'm 16 there. And we all have some ridiculous aviator shades.
The Murray family moved here from Northern Ireland in the 1980s. Their passion for aerial rescue work has been handed down from father to son. Kieran Sr. is approaching retirement, but father and son still have a few more months flying together. Like other members of the Shetland Coast Guard, the Murrays have contributed to forging the reputation of Oscar Charlie.
There you get an aspiration to be a pilot. even in the captain's seat. What age are you there? 7, 8?
Yeah, must be about that sort of age.
Possibly.
Dreaming about the day when I get to do it for real. Yeah, it was a mixture of feelings, really. I didn't, when I first started flying, ever envisage that I'd have an opportunity to fly with Dad. At that time, my career was going off on a separate path, and it wasn't until about 7.5 years later we had an opportunity to fly together. And so when it came, then it was a momentous occasion. It was a great feeling to have Dad in the aircraft with myself, and that feeling's continued as we've continued to work together now in Shetland.
Just call if you want increased rate of climb, descent, whatever. That's looking good. Okay.
Lighthouses are an important part of Scotland's great history. The Muckle Flugga Lighthouse was built by Thomas Stevenson, father of the writer Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote Treasure Island and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The Stevenson family built most of Scotland's legendary lighthouses. Bell Rock, another monument in the middle of the ocean, is the most extraordinary of those built during the Stevenson saga. Begun in 1807, it was 4 years before the Bell Rock Lighthouse cast its first beam. A breathtaking display is in store. With an average of 250 days of rain a year, the wind in the Shetland Islands has a fearsome ally, the waves. On days like this, one would think they were determined to destroy the cliffs. The winds can gust at up to 80 knots. That's 150 kilometers an hour. This is a hurricane, force 12, the highest on the scale. Beyond that, no matter how rough the sea, there's no difference between fury and rage. In winter, flying and carrying out rescue operations can be a real challenge. Kieran Sr. was on duty one icy night off the Shetland coast. He will never forget the rescue of the Be Ready crew. The fishing boat, tossed about by a raging sea, had been burning for several hours. For the trawler's crew, the only thing left to do was abandon ship and save their skins. Despite these extreme conditions, one of Oscar Charlie's men managed to get on board the boat. The Be Ready's crew had to jump overboard to reach the life raft before being winched to safety. That night, Oscar Charlie saved the lives of 5 Scottish fishermen trapped by fire on the high seas.
And of course it's the Winchman who's at the end, seeing the ship coming towards him with the bows rising up and down, and our duty to get him on board safely without any injury to anyone else. Because if you've injured your crewman, that's 2 guys on the deck who are now injured. We're useless.
Yeah, Jimmy, can you somebody? You will orange.
Oscar Charlie's area of operations is primarily maritime, and it is huge. It covers 100,000 square kilometers between the north of Scotland, Norway, and the Faroe Islands. Whether they be fishermen or workers on the North Sea oil platforms, thousands of men may one day need to call on Oscar Charlie for help. Out at sea, far from the nearest land, the helicopter is the only way to evacuate an injured person. Kieran Jr. learned how to fly in this unusual world. Once he got his pilot's license in California, he spent thousands of hours supplying oil platforms around the Shetland Islands. Now, at the age of 33, he has clocked up more than 6,000 hours of flying time. At the base, 30-odd men, 10 of whom are pilots, are on duty day and night for Oscar Charlie. And in order to be operational 24 hours a day, the Coast Guard has a second helicopter. Oscar Charlie can be airborne in under 45 minutes at night, 15 minutes during the day. Oscar Charlie can come to the rescue at any time. It carries out more than 100 operations a year.
Oscar Charlie is very well known throughout the islands. She's a very important asset to the community in Shetland, and over the years she has helped and she will continue to help the people that live here in Shetland. Oscar Charlie is a reliable, robust workhorse that keeps us safe and enables us to do a job where we can help people.
The Coast Guards themselves have all very different professional backgrounds. Many of them are former Royal Navy or Air Force men, veterans of Iraq or the Falklands. In the small world of rescue services, the Scottish have the reputation of being among the best. Marcus is a former serviceman turned rescue worker. He is trained in rescue work and first aid. As winchman, he is the most exposed to danger of the 4 men on board.
For myself on the end of the wire, I get to see the elements a lot closer than the rest of the crew sometimes. And to look at I get a good look at the sea state, and you get very used to looking at, what's going to be good for you, what's going to be bad. You can enjoy the view sometimes on the end of the wire, and sometimes you want to close your eyes because it can be so rough that you just want to get onto the vessel in a high sea state. But it is a fantastic area to fly in. And a privilege for everybody in the crew.
There are no heroes on board Oscar Charlie. The Murrays, father and son, are well aware of this. In a dangerous situation, the crew draws its strength from the experience of each member.
Be flying in the same helicopter on a rescue is tremendous. There's times you think the younger pilot comes along and he's not going to have the same level of experience. And you do have that not so much concern, but you think about that going out on jobs. And it's great when you go out onto a heavy sea to lift an injured fisherman, and that young pilot has no problem whatsoever adapting to the weather, to what's required from him, and we can get a winchman to the deck. More importantly, we can get the injured crewman, return him to the aircraft, and then fly back to base. And if that young person is my son, it makes me extremely proud.
On board a rescue helicopter, there's no good pilot. There are only experienced men. Just another rescue worker among others, Kieran Jr. learned from his father that courage and humility are not diluted by the ocean, nor the skies of the Shetland Islands. Scotland. Its breathtaking landscapes are like a vision from the ends of the earth. At the outer limits of Europe, buffeted by storms, this land of islands, mountains, and lakes stirs the imagination. The Hebrides, an archipelago west of the British Isles, were hewn out by the harsh forces of the ocean. The heart of these Gaelic lands beats with the pulse of an age-old culture. The whims of geology have isolated the inhabitants and forged their insular character. The Hebrides, these scattered bits of emerged land, have always been the protected domain of seabirds. The Highlands are a paradise for lovers of majestic, unspoiled nature. These are the legendary mountains of Scotland, a world unto itself, suspended in time. The island of Tiree is unlike any of the other Hebrides Islands. They say it's the sunniest spot in Scotland, certainly the windiest. On Tiree, the sheep greatly outnumber the people. Proud of its Gaelic tradition, the island of Tiree owes its reputation to the pluck of the fishermen and its plentiful lobsters. On Tiree, nobody knows Alistair MacLean, and yet he was born here and has never left. Like almost all the children on the island, Alistair inherited a nickname when he was very young. Billy. Billy the Box, his true identity.
I suppose everybody's got their own version of that story, but obviously my proper name is Alistair, of course. Billy, I've not actually sure how it came about. It was something to do with my father. He got the ball rolling as far as me being called Billy. And of course, Billy the Box comes with the accordion, as we know it in the island. It's called the box. And when I was in my young teenage years, I was doing quite a bit of music in the house and neighbours' houses and whatnot, you know, with their corners. So it was Billy the Box that stood, you know, that stuck like glue.
Every summer, 7,000 lambs are rounded up for Tiree's sheep fair. It marks the end of their carefree existence.
Wait.
The rest of the year, they run free. Everyone farms and raises sheep here. It's the islanders' main source of revenue, along with fishing and tourism in the summer. Today, Billy has come to help out Colin, his young neighbor. Here, even more than in other parts, cooperation and teamwork form the bedrock of the community.
That's the way it should be and the way it really works on the island. We try and look after one another, and again, I know the likes of Colin. I could phone Colin up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he would come and give me assistance with no questions asked. And that's the way it should be, and it makes life an awful lot easier when we're working along with one another.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.
I remember in particular getting the October holidays from school, which were known locally as the potato holidays. That was the time when the potatoes went home. So you got your fortnight's holiday and you'd dig your own potatoes and put them home, and you'd say, well, thank goodness that's over and done with. On the following day you were marched over the road to give your neighbour a hand. So it was quite, you know, it was done and we never thought anything of it. So we all helped one another. '63, I believe. Which is quite old. Yeah.
In the Hebrides, everything seems to flow naturally and timelessly. Even Billy the Box's old tractor knows the way to the sea. Billy, who's 52, owns 2 tractors, a dozen cows, 20 sheep, and a few patches of land to grow what he needs to feed himself and his animals. The bare necessities. At low tide, he goes down to the beach to gather what the sea has to offer.
What nature gives you, you're making use of it. I mean, it comes in here for a reason, so why not make the use of it? The old folk, my father and my ancestors long before that, they all used to come down and gather the seaweed. Modern fertiliser wasn't quite so available then, and it's pricey. It costs a lot to bring the fertiliser in and to spread it and all the rest of it. I try to get as much as possible. It's not always here, mind you. It comes and goes, depending on the wind and the tide it brings it in, and this is the best stuff I've seen for a long, long time. You know, it's beautiful stuff, absolutely beautiful stuff.
Policy Street back to Telford Road just seems to be a volume of traffic, and an accident on the A71 Calder Road blocking a lane westbound between the City Bypass and Rickers and Mains Road. Now, the accident is westbound, but very slow here in both directions.
Billy is a farmer, a musician, and a sheep raiser. But he wears even one more hat. His days all start off very early, for he has another mission to carry out on the island. To be able to live on Tiree, Billy, like many men and women here, has more than one job. For more than 20 years, he's been one of the island's 3 postmen.
Quite often it's bills they get and junk mail, as I say, but whatever, it keeps me in work anyway.
Even if there are only 600 inhabitants on Tiree, his round can't wait. Billy the postman is a man in a hurry, but he always exchanges a friendly word with those he meets on the way.
Nice day, isn't it? A good day, aye. How are you, wee doggy? I hope this weather lasts anyway.
It's a nice spell, isn't it?
Aye.
A bit of shelter.
Yes.
The sun and shelter. It's nice
right.
like a summer's. Like a summer's
Better
day.
than the summer.
Right.
See you later.
Cheerio then. All right.
Well, yes, they've certainly known me. I've been in the job over 26 years, so they've got to know me. And even a lot of new faces come to the island and, you know, they get to know the postman. That's pretty quickly kind of thing. Again, you're at the door every day kind of thing, so, yeah. So, yes, it's all part of the job.
In the Hebrides, the range of temperatures and the force of the wind are in a class of their own. Out in his shirt sleeves, as always, Billy faces the morning chill without a shiver, disproving the old Scottish saying, "There's no such thing as bad weather, just the wrong gear."
As a Tiree resident and born and bred here, this is only a small breeze. This is actually quite a pleasant day, believe it or not. I would reckon, honestly speaking, you're as close to nature as you can get living out in a little island. You've got to be. You've got to face the elements every day. You get some good days, some nice days, but you can get some very, very bad days as well, where, again, you're at the mercy of the elements. What you can do, when you can do it, if you can do it.
The inhabitants of Tiree are proud of their island's reputation as the windiest spot in Scotland. But sometimes the reality surpasses this banal tourist slogan. In the Western Islands, the rain and wind have 2 fearsome allies, the swell and the waves. In Scotland, the winter storms swing from rage to fury. Today, Billy has donned his rain gear. He's going to lend a hand to the skipper of the Atlantis, one of Tiree's 7 small fishing boats. Every Sunday, the fishermen haul in the week's catch. Tons of shellfish carefully kept alive in creels. Crabs, lobster, prawn, velvet crabs. The waters off Tiree are known to be very rich in nutrients. What's more, there's no overfishing. They know how to protect their treasure here. The holding pools are sheltered from the swell just a few meters from the rocky shore. Ross, the skipper, has no room for error, but the job has to be done no matter what the conditions of the sea. Because the island is so isolated, the fishermen can ship their catch out only once a week, and Sunday is the one day a truck comes onto the island to load up the produce.
When you live in a small community, you've got to be readily available to give somebody a hand or receive help. And this island, we're very, very fortunate in that. We're a close-knit community. I can be down in the harbour within 10 minutes to give Ross a hand, or Callum, or Angus, or Neil, whatever. So we've got to work together. You can't get help from anywhere else but from your community.
For the fishermen, it's a race against time. Once they dock, they have just a few hours to sort and weigh the impressive quantities of crabs, prawns, and lobster before nightfall.
That's a big one, isn't it? Yeah, aye. That's a good size. He's probably 10-year-old, that one. 10-year-old. Maybe more.
The truck has just pulled onto the wharf. In the morning, it will arrive in Oban on the Scottish mainland. From there, it will embark on a long trip to southern Europe. Everything caught in the waters off Tiree is sold in Spain, the world's 5th largest consumer of seafood. But before arriving in sunny Spain, the precious cargo has to be hand-packaged under the watchful eye of Sam, the Scots exporter.
Tiree's one of the best islands on the west coast, if not in Scotland, for quality of shellfish. You know, the quality of velvets, the quality of lobsters, the quality of brown crabs. We put them in tanks of water with an air system blowing. We have an engine that runs an air pump that puts air into the tanks, which oxygenates the water and hopefully keeps them alive. You know, hopefully, most of the time they're alive. You know, we need more money. Okay, Europeans? Never mind Brexit, we're still friends. More money, okay?
I'm born and bred here, and my father was from the island. My mother's, she's from the island, so I suppose I'm as true Tiree blood as you can get. Tiree is my home and always will be my home, and when you look around, it's not a bad little place, really. It never crossed my mind to ever leave the island. I was quite happy to stay on here, and when my late father retired, I carried on with the crofting, so that was me tied here. But I've no regrets whatsoever. This is where I wanted to be, and I hope I'll be here for a few years yet.
In the Hebrides, only about 10 of the islands are inhabited, like Tiree, Billy the Box's island. The entire archipelago is made up of over 500 islands and islets. Most of them are completely protected. Some were abandoned at the beginning of the 20th century. Cut off from the rest of the world, these patches of Gaelic land have become a paradise for migratory birds. Laura Robertson is on her way to the island of Barra in the Outer Hebrides. The small local airport is one of a kind. The pilots who do the run between mainland Scotland and the Hebrides have to check the tide charts before they land here. The landing strip emerges 2 times a day at low tide. Laura is an ornithologist. She's just stopping over on Barra on her way to her final destination, the island of Mingulay, where she'll plunge into an experience quite out of the ordinary, living on her own on a deserted island.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic opportunity to get away to somewhere really remote and challenging to live on. There's no shop round the corner to get your groceries from, and yeah, you know, when the weather's bad, you just kind of have to batten down the hatches and do your best to get the work done. Yeah, I think to spend time alone on remote islands like that, you have to have an awareness of yourself. You need to be able to sort of know when you're feeling a bit down or whatever, and not let things get to you too much.
Laura's crossing to the island is scheduled for tomorrow morning. She has been preparing to leave civilization for several weeks, but tonight, Laura is already somewhere else, off on her island.
Yeah, I'm just interested about the place that I'm going to be living on for the next 3 months. Want to find out more. You know, there are lots of stories about Mingulay that people on Barra can tell you. And it sort of whets the appetite to learn more before I go and live there myself.
Spent years working in an accountant's office. Then one day she decided to give it all up and strike out in a new direction. Now her work consists of studying the behavior of seabirds in the heart of the Scottish wilds. But at dawn, the crossing to Mingulay is looking doubtful.
Hi there. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Are you Donald?
I'm Donald, yes.
Yeah, hi there, I'm Laura. I'm looking to get a boat across to Mingulay, and I've been told you're the person to see.
Yeah, that's me. That is the boat trips to Mingulay, but the weather's not very good for going today.
Okay. When do you think it
Well,
might
I'm hoping to go
improve?
tomorrow.
Okay. How long does it take to get across there?
About an hour.
About an hour.
Depends on the weather.
Okay. When do you think the weather's going to improve?
Well, the forecast looks better for tomorrow, so hopefully tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, so just come down to the
Donald MacLeod was skipper of a boat that fished the waters between Scotland and the Faroe Islands for more than 30 years. He's the only sailor around who goes to Mingulay from time to time.
No, there's no harbour, no, and it's not very sheltered. There's always a bit of swell there, so it's got to be a very good day to land.
To take to the sea in Scotland, you have to seize the calm spells, the rare moments when the ocean takes a breather. This time, Laura is really on her way. She won't be back to the port of Barra before the end of the summer. She can say goodbye to the modern world and its conveniences. There's no turning back now.
How to prepare for Mingulay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's entirely possible, but yeah, I've been on different islands before, none as remote or ambitious as Mingulay. You know, it's not just about the work that you're doing, it's about living here and being here and making the most of your time out here and the experience, and yeah.
Passing beneath the cliffs, Laura discovers her new turf. There's even a welcoming committee. The seals are right at home on Mingulay. Usually there's nothing to disturb them, so they're intrigued by this new arrival.
Over there's the house that I'm going to be spending the next 3 months in, living and working out of. It's the old schoolhouse that's been done up by the Western Isles ranger who works for the National Trust of Scotland. So I'm quite excited to see, you know, my new home for the summer.
Donald won't come back with his boat for the next 3 months, unless Laura needs emergency supplies. From now on, this is her island. Mingulay was not always devoid of human life. For ages, men and women lived here, scraping out a meager existence from the harsh environment. In 1912, the last inhabitants abandoned the islands to the birds. 180 people were still living on the island at the end of the 19th century. They survived thanks to a bit of livestock, some fishing, and, when times got hard, bird hunting. Back then, there was even a school on Mingulay with 48 children enrolled.
So the sort of main part of the village is here in the bay. You can see where the sand starts and then the village starts. There are still quite a lot of remains of all the different houses here. You know, some in better condition than others. Further along, above the village, you have the old church that was built relatively recently in the island's history.
Scurvy, fever, and infant mortality finally outweighed the courage of the Mingulay Islanders.
Locations like this, islands like this, are very much a part of the history of the people that have lived on the Hebrides in the past and are living there now, and is very much still part of their lives, I think.
The only thing that Laura shares with that distant past is the island's single source of fresh water. For centuries, it allowed people to live here far from the rest of the world. Laura has settled in quickly and organized her time. For weeks, she'll be hiking the island's hills and cliffs, following the path of the wind and living in harmony with the colonies of birds.
Just to know that everything matters now. Sitting and watching, keeping my head high.
By leading a free existence without constraints, this ornithologist is living out a dream that many people have: to live on a deserted island like a modern-day Robinson Crusoe.
A definite distance from, you know, my normal life as such on the mainland, but at the same time it never feels too far away. 3 months is no time at all, really. Before you know it, the seabirds will be leaving the cliffs, monitoring will be drawing to a close, and it will be time for me to go back to the mainland again and leave Mingulay behind me. Yeah, it will come quicker than I can imagine.
Laura hikes several kilometers every day to get to the bird rookeries of Mingulay. She has learned how to coexist with her only neighbors.
This is their beach more than mine. I'm only here temporarily over the summer. They sort of spend their entire winter and summer in these waters and on the shores. So, yeah, I'm just a visitor, really. You'll be walking along the coastline on lower sort of rocky areas, thinking you're all alone, and then this little head pops up and, oh, who are you? And as, yeah, just really inquisitive, wants to sort of see what you're up to, and follows you about the coast a little bit. Closest neighbours are the seals, which is fantastic.
You have to be in good shape to do ornithology. Mingulay is an island of stone and peat, and it's not always easy to get around. From their height of 220 meters, the cliffs look down onto the vast Atlantic Ocean. The birds have made this vertical cliff face their domain, a refuge in the sky for nesting between migrations. Laura can't afford to be afraid of heights. She spends hours perched up on these vertiginous cliffs, among the highest in Scotland.
It's probably one of the most impressive spots that I monitor at, in terms of you're up quite high, so for a lot of the birds you're looking straight down on top of them. So the sort of first visit here was, yeah, kind of took my breath away a little bit. Yeah, it's got a good mixture of seabirds here as well, so it's not just a couple of species. We've got kittiwakes, razorbills, guillemots, fulmars, and also some shags low down that with the scope we can actually monitor as well.
Laura works for the National Trust for Scotland, an association that manages Scotland's natural and cultural riches. Right now, she's taking a detailed census of the bird populations. This exhaustive inventory will allow them to better conserve and protect the different species of birds. The northern fulmar, a tireless ocean traveler. It spends most of its time on the high seas, far from human eyes. The great squaw. Its fierce beak is capable of killing its fellow creatures in order to eat or defend its nest. On Mingulay, Laura can enjoy the beauty of this wild world from a front row seat.
Who is this strange person every day coming to this cliff? What is this strange creature staring at me but not doing anything? Yeah, who knows what they're thinking? In remote locations like this, there's no mobile phone signal, so you can't call for help. So one of the first things I was equipped with is a location kind of tracker, basically. So I press that first thing in the morning when I'm heading out, and when I return, I press it again. You know, if I tripped and broke my ankle when I was in the middle of the island, I can press that and it goes straight to the Coast Guard. So they would come out to help me. I think the best safety feature is don't take risks. On a good day, it is beautiful, and yeah, it's lovely to spend time in places like this, really special places, with wildlife as special as this. It's fantastic. Completely different personality in different weathers though, so yeah, when it's a raging gale, it's not quite so friendly, not quite so peaceful, but yeah, it's a beautiful, stunning place. I'm lucky to be here, working here.
It's the end of the summer. After 3 months of isolation, Laura has finished her work on Mingulay. Now she's eager to be off to another island for her next mission. Further east, far from the influence of the ocean, we discover an entirely different facet of Scotland. These are the cairngorms in the center of the Highlands.
Trying to pull you up now, not pull you down now. 121, 49, 79, 115, 40, 72, 126, 68.
Emma O'Shea is a mountaineer, plucky and tireless.
Ready?
Today, she and her faithful friend Moth are taking part in a famous mountain run through the Cairngorms National Park.
I never knew what I wanted to do, and sometimes I still don't know what I want to do, but the one thing that I do know is that I wanted to work outside. I enjoy my way of life. Some people would not like it at all, but for me it is the right way of life, and I could not imagine being inside all day long, looking outside of the window at what is happening outside. So for me, I'm very happy. I like when the weather is very wet or very windy. It is still fun to go outside in the mountains and in the forests. And when the weather is good, that is a bonus.
With a height difference of 1,600 meters, This competition is a grueling 2-hour run in the cold and damp. But what makes Emma run? Emma, who was born in the north of England and moved to Scotland when she was 16, spends her time clambering up these rocky slopes. She studied geology, but now works as a mountain guide. Welcome to the world of Emma. In Scotland, the further north you go, away from the center, the sparser the population. The Highlands seem to exist on the outer limits of the known world. It's a series of lakes inhabited by legendary monsters, bald mountains, and age-old forests. This is where Emma stokes her imagination and her dreams of mountains.
My first trip was nearly 20 years ago abroad, and that was to the Alps, to Chamonix. And I did a tour of Mont Blanc. And after that, I have gone to the Himalayas, to Nepal and India, and to the Andes as well. And I love to see the mountains, but not just the mountains, it's very much the mountain people, the people who live there when I go to visit. And I always say I go to see the mountains, but I remember the people I've talked to along the way, who lived the lives that I like to live. It's not too bad.
Here, Emma is leading a small group of middle schoolers. Today's expedition will take them into the foothills of the Highlands on the edge of the Cairngorms National Park. The program of the day, fieldwork in the open air.
Because I don't want to end up having my bag back.
That is a cluster. Who's waiting for a cluster of trees? So take a mattock and a spade and 5 trees with each group to start with. There you go. Okay.
Emma is a volunteer in an association whose goal is to make the young people aware of the need to reforest Scotland's mountains.
So today we're planting hazel trees back onto a hill where there hasn't been any trees for hundreds of years, and it was man who cut down the trees for homes, for building and for animals, and now we've got an opportunity to put them back. And it means a lot to me because the trees are very important, they're very good for the wildlife and they're very good for people. So it's really, it makes me very happy to be able to have the opportunity to come out and put some trees back onto the hillside.
The reforestation project is part of the curriculum in the Highlands middle schools. The students learn that thousands of years ago, these bald mountains were covered in forests.
A writer and a reindeer.
Well, for me, it's good for volunteering and like for my future, and it's good to have you on your CV. It's a good experience, and it's maybe leading me on to something in my future, a career. Yeah, I'll come and see the progress in maybe 20 years or so and see how much they've grown and if it's successful or not. Yeah.
That looks good. That's good. How many trees have you done? 10. So 20 to hot chocolate. When you look around, there are already some trees that are maybe up to almost 1 metre from the ground, and they weren't here 10, 15 years ago. So very much by the time that everyone here is very old, there will be a small forest that they can come back to see. That is what we hope very much.
In winter, the mountains can change their aspect in just a few minutes. At this latitude, a patch of bad weather can send the temperatures plunging or quickly turn into a storm. The mountaineers know where to take shelter. In the bothies, rudimentary huts built all over the Highlands. A roof, 4 corrugated iron walls, and a wood-burning stove to heat water for tea. Bothies are part and parcel of Scottish culture. Robert Scott, a pioneer in mountaineering in Scotland, is a legend in this region. In the 1950s, he was one of the first to blaze trails in the Highlands.
Well, nowadays, at my age, I'm now 89, and I've got a touch of arthritis, so I can't manage to climb the mountains, but I still love to be amongst them and see the mountains. That's the main thing. And write about the good old days when I used to go climbing. So, and hope when I've written, this is my 4th book, so I might manage to write another 1 or 2 before I reach 100, before I reach my century.
Emma could have taught geology, her first profession, or worked in a laboratory. But ever since the first time her father took her to the Highlands when she was 8, she has had her head filled with dreams of adventure, mountains, and wide open spaces. For 20 years now, she's been exploring the heart of the Highlands off the beaten path. Emma has, in fact, custom-tailored a profession for herself, guiding hikers and climbers who, like herself, are in love with Scotland's natural treasures.
It is like coming back in time. There is nobody here, and there are just the ruins of the castle surrounded by old trees. It's mysterious and magical, and it's a very special place to be. The castle's got a brilliant story. It dates from the 1500s, but there was a story that was fighting between 2 families, the Forbes and the Gordons. And the Gordons had the castle. And one day, the sons, there were 7 sons, they'd been sent out to cut peat, and the peat was used for heat in the 1500s. But the enemy, the Forbes, came along and they slaughtered every single one of the sons, and they cut their heads off, and then they put their heads on stakes and left them in the field. It's really, really gruesome. But it has an even sadder ending, because when the word came back to the father at the castle, he is said to have fallen down the stairs in the building and died here where we stood. This is one of my favourite mountains. It's one of the Munros. It's a mountain over 3,000 feet in height, and this height is 3,554 feet. But the view from the top is absolutely stunning. We can see the whole of Scotland from here.
The Munro Mountains are one of Scotland's wildest territories. 9 peaks, among which is Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the British Isles. Emma is starting the Ascent of Schiehallion, a legendary summit. Everyone in Scotland knows its name. Mount Schiehallion went down in history 300 years ago for a surprising reason.
It's a really interesting story. It goes back to 1774, and they decided to use this mountain to see if they could measure the weight of the earth. And the mountain was chosen because it's completely conical in shape, and it was quite a uniform mountain. And they decided that if they came up onto this mountain and carried out lots of experiments using a plumb line and Newton's law of gravity, they would be able to work out how much the Earth weighs. And they were successful.
After months of training, Emma has attained her holy grail. She has been accepted into Scottish Mountain Rescue, a select team of 800 volunteers who help people in trouble. It's easy to get lost in the Munros.
Mountain rescue is something I've always wanted to do, going onto the mountains in the night or in the snow and the blizzard and being able to bring somebody back is very special. It's a very special thing to do. In our team there are 50 people, maybe less than 5%, maybe less than 2% in every team are female, just a small number. And we come together, and the thing that we all share is mountain rescue and that we want to help people in the mountains. It is a cliche. I always felt I would like to put something back, and I have worked outside and I have built mountain footpaths and I have planted many trees. But to be able to save other people, it means a lot to me, a very, very big lot to me.
It's for these moments that Emma decided to become a mountain guide. Nothing and no one can take these deeply satisfying moments away from her. For Emma, there's no need to travel to the ends of the earth to find adventure. This young woman in love with her mountains has chosen to make her life a long voyage on the paths of her own freedom.
It's just wonderful just to sit and let the world stop. We spend a lot of time rushing around, and it is lovely to be here outside, surrounded by the mountains and the water, and to stop and just to spend the time with the fire and with friends sometimes, or also on my own as well, or with the dog too. For other people, they would think this is not 5-star at all, but for me it is, and it is very special to feel that way. This is much better than a 5-star hotel. This is very real for me.